Hello friends and welcome. Today we're going to go through a couple different heroes I think you should try as a support here in 7.35C. These are relatively good supports. It is only 1 week into the patch, so things will still continue to change, but all of these supports look good and then some look fun, so I'll let you know which is which. Starting with Mirana support here. Right now, Mirana is being played as a position 5 mostly, and if you are, this is the skill build. It looks very familiar to the old Mirana guide we did before because she was a very popular hard support, dropped off, then recently, like with some small buffs, she is coming back as other supports have been nerfed, and then as this popularity in early auras has risen, Mirana can build those. So the skill build really is mostly the same. If you've never seen it before, Starstorm first, and then at level 3 as well. This you use to trade in the lane. As a position 5, you're not going to roam as much. You don't usually have as much kill potential with the carry. You're not going to be like jungling as much while roaming or shoving in the lane by like arrowing the range creep. You can do that as position 4, but as position 5, it's not as good. So you tend to start Starstorm for the trading. Leap will keep you safe. And then around that point, you hit level 4. That's when you start moving around a little bit more. So you might get Sacred Arrow at that point. You can start with level 1 Arrow, especially if you think there is kill potential. And then just like go back for 2 points in Starstorm like this, Arrow later on. And if you're playing for support Mirana, this is more likely the build you will do. If you want to go real aggressive, you skip Leap at least to start, take the Starstorm, and then get Leap later. Item build-wise, I'm going to focus on hard support because that is what is most popular at the pro level. So starting items like, you know, the Tangos, if it's a good stick game, stick. If not, swap it out. Just get cheap stats, right-click damage. That's really how you trade in the laning stage. Just lots of little pokes, and then when Starstorm makes sense, you Starstorm. So anything that'll help you with that. You'll probably need more Tangos than this, so like, you know, feel free to grab another set as the laning stage goes, just like whatever you have money for. From there, Arcane Boots and a Wand, classic starting items. If you're not sure after that, Mech into Greaves is very common to see on Mirana. Mech right now has been rising in popularity as Vlad's just got nerfed, and Mage Slayer has been dropping off, so we've been seeing more. We went through this like cycle of a spellcaster meta, and so then towards the end there was more physical damage, so that, oh, we don't care about Mage Slayer because we're all doing physical damage, so then the mechanism got more popular. Now, depending on what game you're playing, you know, things shift around. Sometimes it's not like that. So Mirana is nice because you can buy literally whatever item makes sense. So as long as you can make a case for it, just grab one of those. Vlad's it did get nerfed. I just said it's like not as popular, but if it's still a good Vlad's game, you can totally get it. I've seen some people buy the Aghanim Shard. I haven't tried it myself yet. It's a little better than it was last time. I can't really speak for it at this time. That's it for Mirana. If you want more info on her, I recommend go watch the old guide. I think the map is different and blood grenades are new, but besides that, you really do a lot of the same stuff. You just buy whatever items your team wants. Next, we're going to talk about Batrider, who has been very popular at the pro scene, one of the best supports. In pubs, maybe a little harder to run correctly because you have to have a certain amount of greed to play Batrider. You'll keep your distance when you have to, but at some point, and for your preferred playstyle, you are going to get close to people, either blinking in, lassoing them back, or earlier on than that, you're just going to like Firefly run at people, Flame Break, knock them into you, right? You are going to be on top of enemy heroes, and you need to have enough gold and XP to not just die when that happens, because you're not as tanky as like other melee initiators who don't really need that much. So you do have to have a certain level of greed, which I do believe you can get away with in pubs. It just takes a little bit of fine tuning. The skill build is pretty much the exact same as the last time he was a meta support. You start with Flame Break in the laning stage, which got nerfed as part of the reason he dropped off, but then it got buffed a little bit, and then there were a lot of Shiva's builders, and they're like, what goes well with magic damage? How about a Batrider? And then they're like, oh, Batrider's still pretty good, actually, even as Shiva's got nerfed. We still kind of like Batrider support. So they're still doing the exact same thing. It's just been like a little better, a little worse at different times. The main thing I'll point out is that this level 10 talent, Sticky Napalm used to be a lot better, and so it's kind of worth getting this, but now, not so good anymore. It got nerfed, so people are going the Flame Break knockback distance to cause like weird positionings in fights. Item-wise, Batrider is a universal hero, so you're just going to poke people with cheap stats. You are short range, so you're going to need extra regen. At some point, not usually level 1, usually want like level 2 or level 3, but I mean, if the opportunity's there, at some point you knock them back with Flame Break and then potentially Blood Grenade them. That's a lot of slow, and then like either auto attack them down if it's level 1, or your Firefly on top of them to just do lots of damage. Tranquil's Wand makes a lot of sense. If you're not sure, default, go Blink, go Force Staff. You don't have to do this, especially depending on your role in the game. Drums could be good. Solar Crest was more popular, and then as you all know, Solar Crest got nerfed, so it's not quite as good. If there is a hero that you're going to be playing around and they would benefit a lot from the armor, attack speed, move speed, all of that, I do still see some Batriders do this. It is a more, I don't want to say passive, but it's like less focus on yourself. If you need to do a lot, you will see Batriders get Blink, Force Staff, Drums as some of their first items. If it is like, I am the follow-up to the guy who's going in, then that's when you might see the Solar Crest. Let's talk about Enigma next. So last time he was popular, demonic summoning was demonic conversion, and you just won a lot of lanes through controlling the creep equilibrium. Now it's different. It wasn't really good enough, so it wasn't catching on, but as he's gotten some steady buffs, demonic summoning is now good enough to play as a support. The fact that you don't need a creep to convert into your Eidolons, and you can now just summon them out of nothing, this means you're much better at level 1 rune fights than you used to be. You're still not like the strongest out there, but you're better than you were. If you don't do the runes, or like it's very passive runes into the lane, that's fine. You'll sometimes body block the lanes with demonic summoning. You can still like block camps. You just harass the enemy a lot with demonic summonings. You're a universal hero as well, so just lots of right click. Make sure you buy enough regen, because it does cost health now to use demonic summoning, so don't, spam this out and then just die. Malefice at level 2 can potentially be a power spike, especially if you've got demonic summonings, the Eidolons to split from 3 to 6. There's a lot of power there. So if you can Malefice Blood Grenade, you can often get a kill. If not at level 2, at some point, like, demonic summoning just gets better every time you level it up. So every time, like, oh, level 3, maybe we could do it. Oh, and I got level 2 in Malefice, right? Like, at any point you see them like extend too far and you have the 6 Eidolons, I really recommend you look to play aggressive. Midnight Pulse, if you need to break trees and if the enemy has a bunch of tanky heroes, you could consider an earlier level, I would say at level 4, but realistically, like the percent HP damage, especially current HP, at the start of the game, no one really is that tanky, so it's not that worth it. Malefice did just get nerfed. You can actually see it here, from a 600 cast range down to 450 at level 1, so Enigma support is literally a bit worse than it used to be in 7.35b, but still popular enough. Many pro teams want to play them. Items, you see the double tangos, the cheap stats we just talked about. Feel free to swap in a stick if it makes sense. Early on, a lot of Enigmas like to get a fast Ring of Basilius, because between the tower regen, tangos you have, and then just the natural HP regen you have, mana is the main issue to keep summoning the Eidolons. So fast Ring of Basilius will help you maintain the Eidolon spam, and it'll help your lane partner, probably your carry, because Enigma hard support, if I didn't say it already, Enigma hard support is a lot more popular right now than Enigma 4 support. So fast Ring of Basilius, you can get other stuff potentially. Sometimes you get Arcane Boots, but actually not that often. If you're playing support Enigma, it's less about a big blink, huge black hole, grab like 5 heroes, wow, right? It's more just a lot of early pressure through cheap auras like Drum of Endurance and Vladimir's Offering and all your Eidolons. So you kind of like win your lane through a lot of Eidolon harass and Eidolon denies, and then you pick up these auras and you just go with the active heroes, you just run at buildings. You will take Black Hole at level 6. Feel free to just use it on like solo kills. You don't have to find the massive black holes, because you are literally just going to be slowly walking in. You're not going to be as tanky. After that early aura build has started to die off and people, like, you're entering that mid to late game, that is when you might buy the Blink Dagger and when you might buy the BKB. You don't have to go this way. Just the fact that as a hard support, you still have the threat of the black hole, but it's harder to catch people. So you just kind of like sit behind your carry, for example, in these mid to late game fights, and you buff them with all your auras, and the enemy team still needs to kill your carry. So they come to kill the carry, and that's where you are. So you didn't have to initiate on them. They came to you, and then you just wub, like cast your black hole, But the Blink and the BKB will give you more options later on if you do think you need them. Techies is a really popular support at the pro level, and it's pretty good in your pubs. He kind of rose back into popularity because so many people were building Shivas that you have all your massive amounts of magic damage amplified by that. You don't have to build it yourself. And Proximity Mine actually also reduces the magic resistance when exploding, so it just buffed up all the spellcasters on your team. Whether you're playing position 4 or 5, the build is pretty much the same. You're going to start with Sticky Napalm, just good harass, along with your long-range universal poke. So you just poke, poke, poke. Through auto attacks and Sticky Napalm. At some point, you can choose to commit with Blast Off, which is no longer a scaling current HP self-damage. It is now a flat 20% at all levels, so it is much easier to use consistently. If you want to go real aggressive, you can actually take a second point in Blast Off here at level 4 and skip Reactive Taser, but Reactive Taser does disarm, and it's a little easier to use as some of the buffs it got, so frequently, like 1 point is still worth it. After that, max off, blast off, because it's just a ton of damage and more stun. A lot of Techies is the same as the last time he was meta, but I do want to point out that now that the blast off damage is a lot less in the early levels, many people have opted to skip this magic resistance talent and instead choose this -3 proximity mines. That is because a lot of people are really enjoying the magic resistance reduction from the mines. Before, it was kind of just nice that it was there, and like Techies would do it himself, like have a lot more magic damage himself. But with this increase in magic damage heroes in the meta, many people really want the mines every time there is a fight. So the -3 proximity mines cooldown helps a lot with that. But when there is a lot of magic damage, because the enemy team might also have a lot of spellcasters and you are struggling with that, and maybe your team has opted for more physical damage, so you don't really need like the magic reduction from these mines every single fight, then feel free to take this 20% magic resistance talent. For your starting items, regen, blood grenade, as everyone does, the cheap stats. I think I've been saying that for like all of them. If you have a lot of extra money for whatever reason, you know, like 2 circlets, you'll see people do. Other times they'll get like more sentries, more regen. It just kind of depends on the lane. I won't worry about it too much for now. Beyond that, brown boots, wand, arcane boots. Because many people aren't taking that talent anymore, many Techies will go for a glimmer cape to have magic resistance for yourself, and because you're blasting off into the middle of enemies, you don't want to die, so glimmering yourself, giving yourself that extra barrier, and going invis, maybe you can, you know, run out of there after blasting off, along with just being able to use it on allies, still really good. You don't have to get this, depending on the game. There's a lot of items Techies can get. It is a very flexible skill build, but many Techies are playing around utility, so we're seeing a lot of like glimmer capes and force staffs from like the pro level Techies. Venomancer is not popular at the pro scene, but he has a very good pub win rate, and I think this patch will be good for him because Sange got buffed and the items that Sange upgrades into, so we're seeing more heroes who want that item be picked up. So, for example, Alchemist has been getting more popular. I've seen more Huskars. I've seen Trolls by Sange and Yasha. So more heroes are having higher HP regen, which the passive from Venomancer will counter. And many of the heroes who like that item are also melee, which you just kind of like kite them out with all these slows. Skill build's nothing too crazy. There are 2 main options for you. So there's one, the one you see here, which is that you start with Q, use this for the first bloods, use it in the lane a little bit, but don't waste all your mana, you know, before you get the other skill points. But just a little bit of harass here and there when someone overextends, fantastic. You get the full value of the slow at level 1. That's the main thing you need. If you want to go real aggressive, you can sometimes get a second point in it, putting off Plague Wards, but I don't usually recommend that. Then you max Poison Sting. This is best when you feel you can attack easily because Poison Sting scales incredibly well. So when you can constantly attack and you're looking to play aggressive, maxing Poison Sting will be great. If instead you have a hard time doing it, for example, there's a lot of ranged enemy heroes who attack really fast and you're short range, so it's hard to like get in range, or you're being run down and the enemy is looking to play very fast and your team is not prepared for that, then the other build is to max Plague Wards and either use it to play aggressively by setting up a bunch of wards near the enemy base or enemy objectives so that they feel it's like harder to push into you to defend because they have so many Plague Wards set up. They try to chase you and all the Plague Wards are hitting them, slowing them. They don't like it. They give up. So it helps protect you as you look to take objectives. Or you sit under your tower, place like 8 Plague Wards, and every time a creep wave walks in, your wards kill them all off, so the enemy has a really hard time pushing into the tower. They want to dive you, but there's 8 Plague Wards, so it's really hard. So that's pretty much the two different builds. Oh, if you max Plague Wards, you just go back for Poison Sting after this. Starting items are the same as everybody else because everybody's doing this. The laning stage is just really important. The more damage you have, the more tanky you are from these stuff. It's just really good to do. Brown Boots, 1, blah, blah, blah. Many Venos are building Spirit Vessels. So I do think position 5 Veno is better than position 4, but you can play both. Both of them are building Spirit Vessel. It just combines really well with your passive and all your damage over time to actually get kills. But then your talent at level 10 plus this Spirit Vessel really reduces a lot of HP regen and like the other healings from the Spirit Vessel. So there's just a lot of synergy there. If it doesn't make any sense, that is fine. You just go the usual, like whatever support items you need. Venomancer is a very flexible item build. I will say the new Arcane Boots has felt really nice on Venomancer, especially for the max Plague Wards build. You often don't have enough mana to constantly spam out Plague Wards, but the Arcane Boots that are the new ones, they have a lot better mana regen. Your mana pool is a little bit of an issue for Venomancer, but it's more because you spam out Plague Ward so much that your mana like drops, and then you don't have enough mana for all your spells. But because of the better mana regen, your mana pool is like just enough, and the improved mana regen allows you to spam the Plague Wards and have enough mana to cast your spells. So I have enjoyed that. If I don't need Spirit Vessel, I like to get Arcane Boots into this other stuff. All right, now for the wacky stuff. So Chen is actually not wacky. In fact, very good. 100% picked or banned, I believe, in the group stage of ESL. If not 100%, extremely high. He did get nerfed. Divine Favor costs mana. It's not free now. Still extremely powerful. But I know a lot of you don't play Chen, and the pub meta does not really play the way Chen would love. But if you've been interested in Chen and you're willing to communicate to your team, this is a great time to play him. He is very strong. The cheap auras you can buy, especially this Vlad and this drums, you'll see a lot of Chens do. It's really good. It's just kind of hard. I plan on learning Chen this patch as things settle and I'm done trying out all the wacky stuff. So I'm going to make a more detailed guide at that time. This is a rough Chen guide for any of you that want to get started. And if you do, I highly recommend you go watch replays of the pros. Once Chen is banned, if a pro team wants to secure their lane for a carry, you'll see a lot of Enchantress picks. It is very strong and much easier to run in pubs because it has a lot better scaling potential. I have been learning Enchantress myself. I am going to make a more detailed guide for her in the nearish future. I think we're reaching that point. We can at least make a beginner's guide for Enchantress. But for now, if you're interested in Chen or Enchantress, I know they can be a little bit intimidating, but they are great heroes right now if you want to learn them. Enchantress, the only thing I'll really point out is that from this patch, 7.35b, you would see Mage Slayer as your first major item because it was really, really good. If it still makes sense to get Mage Slayer, you will still sometimes see it, but many people are opting to move away from it on the Enchantress, going straight for Dragonlance, and then kind of like whatever else they might need. All right, so now the stuff that might get you reported, it is not on me. It's up to you to choose to play this stuff or not. I think they are viable. Not saying they're really good, like when Clinks became a support and that shit was busted, or Nature's became a support and that shit was busted. I don't think we're at that level. I could be wrong, but I've played it a couple times. It is good enough. It is viable. But people, they're slow. They're not so into it, so you might get some reports. I'm giving you the warning now. Leshrac, we can play him as a 4 or a 5. The idea here is that Diabolic's Edict got buffed, and it is a very powerful spell with a lot of damage, a lot of pushing potential. So, Split Earth level 1, the starting levels can be a little tricky. So if you're against melee heroes, I recommend Split Earth. You will use it to secure the range creep and threaten the enemy. Like when they want to walk up to a creep and they're melee, you start to pump fake your stun. Maybe you actually do it if you really want to get the deny or you see them walking up, right? You just kind of freak them out by constantly pretending to cast Split Earth every time they walk up for a creep and actually do it a couple times. So every time they see you, they're like, he's going to do it. And they back away. And then you just deny the creep in front of their face without actually casting Split Earth. If it is a ranged hero, it's going to be very hard to land Split Earth. So I recommend Lightning Storm. If you're playing aggressively, you might want like 1 point in each of these before going for more points in Diabolic's Edict. But if possible, taking Diabolic's Edict at least at level 2 and 3, or sorry, at least at level 3 after your first 2 skill points. But if you can, save the skill point and then take 2 and 3 when you need it. It is really good for fighting the enemy support in the jungle or over the lotuses because all of the creeps are in the lane. They're not there. And so if it's just you and one enemy hero, Diabolic Edict will do an insane amount of damage. It is why this ability is so good. I'll put it here for you, actually. Level 1 does 400 damage if every Diabolic Edict explosion hits the same target. There are 40 explosions over 10 seconds. So when you are isolated and you are near the enemy and not near any other creeps or summons or illusions, things like that, Diabolic Edict will destroy people. And that's why if you can make those situations happen, taking it at like level 2 and 3 is ideal when this is literally a full health hero. You can just kill them. It is just difficult to find those situations. But in pub games, it happens a lot more often where people, a lot of you supports, you guys always just like run around the jungle for no reason. But at least now you can take advantage of that if you're playing Leshrac and you can go kill that guy who's standing by himself. 720 pure damage. It's nuts. Sorry, I actually had a mistake here. Pulse Nova, you can actually leave it at level 1. It is just a lot more mana intensive if you level it up. So what a lot of people do is just leave it at level 1, max out all their other spells and get their talents. And then by the point you can get level 2 in Pulse Nova, you usually have picked up another item or something like that to help with the intensive mana cost. So you can do this if you're having a really great game. I mean, feel free to take it earlier if you think you can afford to. But if you see people just take 1 point and not any others, that is why. Items, cheap stats, wand, or magic stick if it makes sense. Swap out a circlet if it doesn't. You're just going to right-click a lot in the laning stage. Item-wise, arcanes into mech and greaves. So in the past, I was doing like shard rush first, which you can if you're having like an insane game. But at level 15, you're probably, or sorry, minute 15 when you could rush a shard, you're probably only like 7 to 9-ish, like that level range. And that means Split Earth isn't maxed. And part of the nerfs that Leshrac got is that the Aghanim Shard and Split Earth are not as good as they used to be. So rushing the Aghanim Shard doesn't make sense. It's only really good once you hit level 10 and have Split Earth maxed out and that 10 talent. So in the meantime, go for a mech, go into Greaves. You are a short-range hero, so you are in a lot of danger when you rush in to use your abilities. So mech is going to help tank you up, and it fits the early aura gameplay you want to go with your teams, win fights, and then destroy towers with Diabolic Edict. But if you're losing fights, you don't get to do that, so the mech will help you do that. Otherwise, you can kind of build whatever. I'm still exploring this. I'm going to make a more detailed guide in the future. So then we have Terrorblade, and you really might get reported for this one. I just started it. I'm going to see where my behavior score and my communication score go. It's actually kind of viable, I think, but the draft matters a little bit. The idea here is that your base stats are really, really good. And he got buffed. So Reflection is a lower cooldown. He has better base strength, I think 2 base strength and better strength gain. So you are just tankier while doing this. Let me actually just show you guys. So the difference is that core Terrorblade would max meta and conjure image to farm and, amplify his right clicks. But support Terrorblade is going to max Reflection first and take the talents for it. Reflection is actually a really strong spell, especially if the enemy is building auras, which are pretty popular right now because you essentially get your own aura for the time that your Reflection lasts. So the idea of support Terrorblade is that your stats are really good in the laning stage and you're just going to spam Reflection and right-click them. You have a massive power spike at level 2. You're going to hold a blood grenade, and as soon as you hit level 2, you're going to get real close to someone, pop meta, Reflection, blood grenade, and just go. And you're probably going to straight up kill them. Throughout the laning stage, you're going to keep using Reflection. Conjure Image you can use to stack multiple camps, use to scout, split push, deny runes, send it over to the enemy Wisdom rune, kill it if you can't get there yourself. You'll use it to farm a little bit yourself, but you're not looking to be, I think, it's very new tech. I don't think you're trying to be a second carry quite yet, but you do want some farm. Item-wise, you just want a lot of cheap stats, and then the blood grenade for that level 2 power spike we talked about. I buy another blood grenade after that, but you got to kind of wait for meta to come up again. You're going to need more tangos, but at least to start, you want a lot of cheap stats, but you can get more tangos, whatever you need. Get a stick if it makes sense. Brown boots, wand. But if you're going Spirit Vessel, which I have seen some Terrorblades do. You can just rush the Spirit Vessel first because your movement speed, I think, is 315 by default, which is not bad. You can get around without the boots, but if you just want the boots before doing that, some are just getting the urn, and then it's not really that good of a Spirit Vessel game, so they just keep the urn, they go for drums into drum boots. Otherwise, Vlad's. Otherwise, any carry items, I think. I don't know. I've played it about 4 or 5 times at the time of this video. I'm going to play it more. I'm going to make a guide for Leshrac and Terrorblade because they're fun, not necessarily because they're good. The good heroes have been the good heroes for quite a while now. For those of you that are wondering, Lion, still good. Venge, still good. Nature's harder, but still good, right? You can play a lot of the same shit and it's boring, and I'm tired of making the same videos, so we're not going to do that. We're playing Terrorblade position 4. We're playing Leshrac 4 and 5. I've seen some people do Terrorblade 5, but it scares me a little bit. But I'm conquering my fears with Terrorblade 4, so maybe we will try Terrorblade hard support later on. I will let you guys know. I will make a more detailed guide. But if you want to get ahead of it, then here's the gist of it. All right, that's it, guys. A very quick run through of, I think, like 8 different supports. So let me know what you think of this. I don't think I'm going to be editing as many like clip examples because like a ton of extra work for I don't know how much payoff. I think I'll save that for when we do more detailed guides of some of these supports. If you want any of these guides you saw in this video, I will link them in the description, as well as guides to the other supports we talked about, the older ones that are maybe a little bit different now, but mostly the same. Those will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching. I will see you in a future video. Seriously, I've already been called a clown for picking it. I won that game though. The enemy tilted out. I don't know if it counts, but maybe they tilted out because they lost to a Terrorblade support in the laning stage. So, I don't know. Seriously, wait it out. If you're scared and you can't deal with the reports and the toxicity, let some idiot normalize this. Let other idiots out there normalize it first so people get used to it and see the value of it, and then maybe it'll be okay. But if not, party queue up or something and then give it a shot.